All right, thank you everyone for coming out today for what is a very important issue that many of us, all of us, and many of our constituents are concerned about. And that is the issue of Mayor de Blasio imposing a vaccine passport mandate in which individuals will be required to have a vaccine passport to enter local establishments like the restaurant we're in front of, enter gyms where they go for physical fitness, or attend any concerts or events. And so this is incredibly important because we believe that this is an overreach of government, that this is about government control, and that government should not be imposing such a mandate on its people and on the small business owners. We have received calls from countless individuals that we represent, vaccinated and unvaccinated. People who are concerned because if they're vaccinated, they believe this is a privacy issue, that everywhere they go, they're going to have to furnish a passport and give an individual that they don't know their personal health information. From an unvaccinated individual's point of view, they feel that they are being left out of everyday activities, to participate in everyday activities of society. And many of these individuals, and the two that we have speaking with us today, are individuals who have autoimmune issues, and they've been advised by their doctors for that reason to not take the vaccination. And let me be clear, I am vaccinated. I held a pop-up vaccine event to help my constituents get vaccinated. I've helped 650 constituents, as so many of my other elected official colleagues here today have done, to obtain appointments for vaccinations. And I believe that the vaccine is important, it's effective, and I feel safer because I was vaccinated. But I want to be able to go about my life and not have to worry about carrying a vaccine passport everywhere I go and sharing that personal information with people that I do not know. And in terms of our small business owners, since the beginning of this pandemic, they have cooperated. They have been a part of the solution. They have closed their doors. They have done outdoor dining. They have made modifications and changes, invested tons of money to help slow the spread, to be a partner with government to try to overcome this virus. At this point, it is beyond ridiculous that the government is mandating these small business owners, who, by the way, are short-staffed because of problems created by government. Okay, they have labor shortages that they will all talk to you about because on the federal level, they decided to pay people more money than they were paying them to work. And now they can't get their employees back to work, many of them. So if you talk to these business owners, they will tell you that they are extremely spread thin. They're having difficulties running their business each and every day. And yet the government now wants to make them the vaccine police and impose another mandate on them to check every person's vaccine passport when they come through the door. And on top of that, verify if this is a legitimate documentation, if it's authentic. How are they supposed to do that? And if they don't do it, the mayor's threatening to fine them. I'm sure the governor will come down with SLA inspectors looking to strip their liquor license and impose more burdens on already struggling business owners. And that is why I'm here today with my colleagues, with constituents, with the small business owners in the community to say to the mayor, we want you to rescind this passport requirement. And if you don't, we will sue you. And we have two attorneys here today who will be speaking about Article 78 with an injunction that they plan to file. But we will not accept this type of government control and intervention in our lives. Government's job is to tell the community, tell our constituents why the vaccine is important, why it's effective, show the science, show the facts, and let individual Americans make a decision with their doctor on what's in the best interest for themselves and their families. So I'd like to introduce my colleague, Senator Andrew Lanza, who's a great fighter for the people of this community and represents the South Shore of Staten Island. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. First, let me commend and thank Congresswoman Malliotakis for taking this leadership position on this important issue. You know, it's not as common as it once was to stand for the people. We are all fortunate that she's willing to do that, and I am proud to stand with everyone here who are willing to fight for the people. You know, Abraham Lincoln once described America as a nation conceived in liberty. The problem today is people like Bill de Blasio believe the liberty belongs to them and not to you, the people. This edict is an example of that. As Congresswoman Malliotakis so aptly put it, it is unworkable, it is outrageous, it is an invasion of privacy. And by the way, there's absolutely no science which supports this policy, none whatsoever. Even the CDC does not believe that this is the way to go. And why should we trust Mayor de Blasio or the left, the leadership in this state, unfortunately, from the other party, the Democrats? They've already proven to be not worthy of our trust. New York fared worse than any other state in America when it came to the pandemic. We could talk about sending people to nursing homes to die. We could talk about the former health commissioner of New York City, who refused to issue masks early on in the pandemic to healthcare workers, to emergency workers, to our police department, to our firefighters, to our EMS workers, and to the residents of nursing homes. She said no. These people do not deserve our trust. And what they're doing here is wrong. You would believe, as Congresswoman Malliotakis said, we're supposed to now walk around with health papers. We've got to carry papers in America because of these fools. You would think that can only happen in Russia or China until you realize that the de Blasios of the world are following the Leninist Marxist playbook to a T. That's what this is all about. They don't care about your safety. It is your freedom that they are after. Make no mistake, they abhor your liberty. Here are the facts on the vaccine, as science has determined. When they tell you you ought to get vaccine to protect others, science proves that wrong. CDC has just said you can just as easily transmit the virus whether you're vaccinated or not. So don't tell us that you must get vaccinated to protect others. If you are in a vulnerable demographic, you are elderly, you have comorbidities, then you ought to protect yourself. You ought to get vaccinated. But it's your choice. It's your choice. Another scientific fact. This virus, COVID, is virtually does not affect healthy young people. The risk is virtually zero. One last point. Knowing the tyrannical proclivities of people like Mayor de Blasio and Governor Cuomo, months ago, back in March of this year, I introduced legislation that would prohibit de Blasio, Cuomo, or anyone in government for doing just what they are trying to do now. No vaccine mandates, no carrying papers, no incentives paying people to get the vaccine. Of course, the Democrats in Albany have refused to put it on the floor even for a vote, and it goes without saying that Governor Cuomo does not support it. And one last point on that note, Governor Cuomo, even Governor Cuomo himself back in June, lifted the state of emergency. He now wants to tell people New York is doing better than any other state. We know better, but those are his words. And if that's the fact, why do we need this? I leave it to you to decide, but I promise you it's about liberty, it's about control, it's not about safety. It's my honor now to introduce someone like everyone standing here is willing to fight. And as I said before, not only is it less common, but it's less fashionable.
President Biden, when he was candidate Biden, who's gonna take the shot? Vice President Kamala Harris. I wouldn't trust anything Trump says. So who is actually disseminating fear? Who is disseminating the rhetoric, the political rhetoric? They are. They started this. They created the apprehension. As we all will stand here and tell you today, the choice to get vaccinated is yours, the individual. Government should not tell you what to do with your body and your health. I have 3 children, 2 girls, 14 and 17. I have a long history of autoimmune disease on both sides of my family, my wife and myself. I don't want to take that chance. I know they say, well, maybe it's 4 in 100. I don't want one of my girls to be that 4. And that is a real problem I have. It's something that I battle with internally. I battle it internally with myself about getting the vaccine. But I still have antibodies from when I had COVID in August of last year. That's something that this administration, both at the city and the state, failed to acknowledge. My natural immunity keeps me safe. And it keeps all those who had it safe. Just recently, I had a call with the New York City Health Commissioner. They're not even tracking that. You know what they're also not tracking? Breakthrough infections for those who were vaccinated. So let's be real and acknowledge why we are here. We are here because these are mandates, like Senator Lanza said, that are not based in science. They want you to follow the science? Well, they better follow it too. So I'm here to tell you, you want to get vaccinated? So be it, get vaccinated. You should if you feel it'll help you. But if others don't feel like they want to get it, they should not be ostracized. And we will not stand for them to be ostracized. No citizen of New York City or New York State should be second class. It won't happen under our watch. So now I'd like to introduce you to Assemblyman Michael Tanusis, a great partner in Albany.
Thank you very much, Assemblyman Riley. You know, just to be clear, I just want to say myself, just like Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, I'm vaccinated. My entire family's vaccinated. I encourage all my constituents to speak to physicians, their physicians, about getting vaccinated. We are not anti-vaccination, but we are pro, I should say, common sense. That's what this is about. This is about doing common sense things. I have a variety of friends that spoke to their physicians and are not able to get the vaccine for one reason or another. And there is no reason why those people should be discriminated against and should be inconvenienced because of this mandate. You know, before I got elected to the Assembly, I was an attorney. I still am an attorney. I was a litigator. I was a prosecutor. And I ran for state assembly because I wanted to give back to my community. And you know what I've realized the past 6-7 months as a state assemblyman, and even before that as a candidate? That we get more action and more attention from the government, from the mayor, from the governor when we file lawsuits. We get more attention when we file lawsuits. Sometimes I wonder to myself, why did I even stop practicing? That's how I would have gotten their attention. Well, we're standing here today to tell you that we, elected officials, attorneys, business owners, are standing up for common sense. And we're standing up for the people of this city. Thank you very much. And with that being said, I want to introduce you to a fighter in the New York City Council, my good friend, Councilman Joe Borelli.
Thank you, Mike. Let's be clear about vaccines. Out of 163 million Americans, the CDC reports that only 1,000, actually fewer if you read the asterisk, fewer than 1,000 Americans have died from breakthrough COVID. The vaccine has worked beyond our wildest expectations, and that's a good thing. But it also adds up to the fact that it's not my problem anymore. It's not your problem anymore. It's not these restaurant and gym owners' problem anymore. It's about personal responsibility. Every New Yorker can go to a dozen places in every borough and get themselves a vaccine that will make them statistically immune from dying from COVID. This is called personal responsibility and not collective sacrifice anymore. Go get the vaccine. If you don't, it's no one else's choice or problem what happens to you after that point. I don't know anything more about healthcare or vaccines or, viruses. I'm no expert. Stop listening to people like me. Stop listening to people like Bill de Blasio and talk to someone who's been ignored throughout this whole pandemic. Talk to your own primary care doctors. Make the best choices for you and your family. But here's where the policy gets crazy. We were told by every level of government under the sun that when America hits 70% vaccination, we'll get our life back. All we need is the vaccine and everything's gonna go back to normal. Well, we've crossed that threshold. We've crossed that threshold in the state, we've crossed that threshold in the city, we've crossed that threshold in the United States. And yet everywhere in the country is respecting that choice. They're easing restrictions. Everywhere not under the control of Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio is going above and beyond everyone else to screw the restaurant owners who have suffered long enough, to screw the gym owners. Our own test and trace score says restaurants account for 1.4% of cases. So what are we even accomplishing other than hurting people who've already been hurt? You can't work in a restaurant starting next week if you don't have a vaccine. But you can work for Bill de Blasio, right? This is so important, so desperate, so critical, that this is not even the rules he's implementing on his own staff, on his own city workers. Think about that. And think about the timing. This is going into effect next week. Enforcement's gonna start next month. This is not in response to some new wildfire variant we can't figure out, we can't predict what's gonna happen. No, this is long-term. This is a long-term restriction that's gonna happen in New York City restaurants unless we fight it. There's no hope for New York restaurants as long as people like Bill de Blasio have unbridled control over who can go into a restaurant and who can't. So thank you everyone for joining. Thanks everyone for making a stand. And if you look at the outcomes, France has restrictions like this. They have vaccine passports. The UK just went totally free. Both countries, Delta variant cases spiked. Both countries didn't see anywhere near the amount of death or hospitalization as they did in their previous wave. Why? Because the vaccine works. America, science, the public, we've all lived up to our end of the bargain. It's time to let things get back to normal, restore our normal lives, and instead we have Bill de Blasio who refuses to give up any inch of control. So that said, I want to introduce the next speaker, our former congressman and our next borough president, Vito Fossella.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you all for coming. And a reminder to why we're here. We're not here just to listen to the folks that are behind this podium. We're here because we represent the hardworking people of Staten Island, New York City, the business owners, and in particular, I want to thank the owner of La Fontana Restaurant, who's here, Joe Fossey. Joe, thank you for allowing us to be here today. La Fontana, try the veal. It's the best in the city, if you care. Rather than repeat much of what has been said before me, I just want to say sort of two things. The school across the street is a school that some of myself and others behind me attended. And if you notice, there is a sign that says Vir Fidelis. And Vir Fidelis is Latin for faithful man. And what we're trying to do here today, by extension, is be faithful to the people who put or will put us in office. We're faithful to the United States Constitution because the last I checked, we lived in a free country. We're faithful to those people who are looking for guidance and help. We're faithful to the small business owners who make this city and this country work. And when we stand up and we're challenged by those who say we know better, when they stand up and they say we're arrogant, we're elite, we're going to tell you what to do, we represent the people who say no. So if you want to come for their jobs, if you want to come for their business, if you want to come for their liberty, and if you want to come for their freedom, we're here to say we're standing in your way. So if there is not compromise, if there is not a reflection and a withdrawal of this ridiculous, unconstitutional edict from the powers that be, then we will sue you. Not for me, not for these elected officials, but for the hardworking United States citizens who say we've had enough. I've had the vaccine. My family's had the vaccine. That's not the question. The question is, are we going to undo 240 years of precedent that says we're not going to trample on the rights of individuals? Who the heck in City Hall is going to tell some individual in Rosebank or Rossville what they should do with their own health? Or what they should do with their own kids or their own family? Where did this come from? We stand united here in Staten Island, but hopefully representative of many people across this city and across this country, I dare say. We've had enough. We're standing up for freedom. We're standing up for the United States Constitution. With that, it is my honor to introduce from Steve Mattio's office, David Carr.
Thank you, Congressman. On behalf of Minority Leader Mattio and myself, I want to thank Congresswoman Malliotakis for her leadership in organizing this issue. I want to thank Luigi Lamino and Mark Fonte for once again taking up the cause of our community, and in particular the small business community, and being ready and willing to do battle in the courts on our behalf. I also want to thank someone who hasn't been mentioned yet, and that's the person who's really most responsible for why we even have the vaccine, and that's former President Donald Trump. He was the one that started Operation Warp Speed. He's the reason that we had the vaccine in record time. He's the reason that we're able to reopen as quickly as we have, although certainly it wasn't as quickly as we would have liked. And he really deserves the credit for us having the vaccine today. The vaccine has been a success for all the reasons everyone has said. I'm personally vaccinated, and I encourage those who are thinking about it to, as Joe and Mike Tanusa said, to talk to your physicians and decide if it's the right choice for you. We're not anti-vaccine, we're pro-small business, we're pro-freedoms, and it's unconscionable to divide our citizens into classes based on their personal health decisions, let alone for any other reason. And it's even adds insult to injury to ask our small business community to be in the position of enforcing a mandate they frankly don't believe in, and that shouldn't even exist, and that hurts their bottom line and hurts their ability to pay their employees. And so I don't want to stand between the explanation of the suit any longer than is needed, so I just want to thank everyone again, and we stand shoulder to shoulder with our small business community and with all Staten Islanders and New Yorkers against this unconstitutional mandate. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to now bring up our attorneys, Lou Guillermino and Mark Fonte.
Thank you, Nicole. You know, we're very blessed on Staten Island. We have incredibly passionate voices for us in Congress, in city council, in state government, in borough hall, soon to be back in council. We're very, very fortunate how passionate and how strong they represent the people of Staten Island. You know, my partner and I, Mark Fonte, have been in this fight from the beginning. Obviously, I have a lot of friends in the restaurant business. Maybe I should have more friends in the gym business, but we're getting there, hopefully. All right, but from the beginning, the restaurant owners, the gym owners, they have faced an incredible burden. They really have. The city council has, well, not the city council, the mayor has put an incredible burden on them, and the governor has put incredible burden on them. From the beginning, this has been the greatest infringement of our civil liberties in my lifetime, at least my lifetime, and possibly in American history. And from the beginning, my partner and I have been battling for the small business owners here on Staten Island. And I have to tell you, we've been researching, we've been studying, we have not seen one document, one study, one piece of science that shows that the COVID vaccine, the COVID transmission is greater in restaurants and in gyms than it is anywhere else. As a matter of fact, we actually see studies that show it's less. As my friend Joe Borelli said last night, it's less than 1.5% transmission rate through restaurants and gyms. So my partner and I are proud to be able to represent the people, represent the small business owners in Staten Island, and bring this lawsuit against the city. My partner's going to drill down in a little bit of the details, but we're going to bring it on 3 different tracks. One, for the citizens. Who are they to tell me while I'm eating my veal here at La Fontana, have to see my passport or my papers? That's not going to happen. 2, who are they to tell Joey that he has to fire workers that aren't vaccinated when he's having trouble getting workers to work in his restaurant right now? Every restaurant owner on Staten Island has a big sign, help wanted. No way do you want these people to be fired when they want to work. These people want to work. And 2, and 3, I should say, for the employees themselves that actually want to work and now have to go back on unemployment when they're the people that actually want to work, which is what we need. So on behalf of all the people of Staten Island, the small business owners, my partner and I are proud to bring this lawsuit and work with our elected officials here on Staten Island. My partner Mark is going to go more into the details of the lawsuit.
Thank you, Lou. So thank you for everybody for attending. Just want to remind everyone that Lou Gelomino and myself have done this before. We previously have filed lawsuits on behalf of the restaurants. We filed lawsuits on behalf of the gyms. We filed lawsuits, as you may remember, our very first get-go when the pandemic started was for Bobby Catone and Sunbelievable Tanning Salon. That was the first rally and the first lawsuit we filed. So we know what to do, we know how to do it, but we thought we were done. We put our civil briefcases to the side and began our ordinary law practice. And the telephone rang, and it was Vito Fasella, who said, guys, I need you to dust off your civil cases one more time and come to the help of Staten Island. Now, we know how much Vito cares about the people of Staten Island. We know how much Vito cares about the small businesses on Staten Island. And we also know you never say no to Vito Fasella. So we did what we had to do and what we did before. We dusted off our civil law books, took out the civil briefcases, and we are prepared to file a lawsuit, an Article 78 proceeding with an accompanying temporary restraining order 10 days from today. That will be August 16th. August 16th is the date that the mayor has picked to begin implementation of these ridiculous mandates. So without getting in the weeds too much, I just want to go over a few of the issues we will be raising in our lawsuit. First, there will be an equal protection claim, meaning why are restaurants and gyms being singled out again unfairly as opposed to other businesses? Why is it more difficult to go into a restaurant and eat a hamburger and get food while Costco and Walmart is elbow to elbow with individuals. It must be a very smart virus. Second, an issue of confidentiality comes up. Who is the mayor and his cronies to tell us, Staten Islanders, that we have to divulge our own personal health care decisions to a maitre d' at a restaurant in order to sit down and get a hamburger? What happened to confidentiality laws? What happened to HIPAA? With the stroke of a pen, these confidentiality laws no longer apply. Third, an enormous pressure, an enormous duty is being placed upon our restaurant owners because they're being deputized by the mayor to act as a law enforcement agency. They now have to have someone at the maitre d' table examining COVID cards. So you make your reservation, you tell them how many people, what time, and you're told, make sure you bring your COVID cards, and then you have to show your vaccination cards to the maitre d' who has to make a decision whether the card is legitimate or not, as to whether or not you can eat inside that establishment. So your own personal health care decisions is now being disseminated against your will by force. Next, it's government overreach. And when we talk about overreach, they're reaching from City Hall, from the powers of City Hall. That arm is going across the bay, down to Tottenville, to Bobby DeLuca's kitchen to tell him, this chef can't work for you, he's not immunized. The government is too far involved in our lives, too far involved in our businesses, and then to tell people to develop two classes of citizens, the vaccinated against the unvaccinated versus the unvaccinated. And then to tell business owners who are struggling mightily to begin with that these workers cannot work for you because they are not vaccinated. What if Allison at ESCA has an employee that's been working for her for 20 years and because of an autoimmune disease can't get the vaccine? She has to fire that employee? That is called government overreach. We need to reassert the principle, and our lawsuit is seeking to reassert the principle that the government does not tell us what to do. We tell the government what to do. That's what America was founded on. You know, it's interesting that in order to go into Eske's and order a hamburger and a beer, you have to show identification. But if you go and vote for the leader of the free world, you don't have to show an ID. Talk about arbitrary laws. This is what the lawsuit will be addressing. Finally, the lawsuit will be seeking the third co-equal branch of government, the judiciary, to make determinations and decisions as to whether or not the mayor's edicts are constitutional, whether or not they're overreach, whether or not they should be immediately enjoined with a temporary restraining order. I believe the judiciary will side with us. I know these judges on Staten Island. I know the people of Staten Island. We all stick together here. That's what makes this island so great. So we're hoping once and for all that the judiciary acts as a roadblock on this mayor. And with that, I want to introduce some of the business owners. Charlie Cassara.
Thank you. Good morning. And thank you, Congresswoman. I'm obviously not a politician, and I don't speak like a politician. What I am is a business owner, and I'm someone that started a coalition of gyms of over 6,000 across this state. The United States Fitness Coalition is not anti-vaxxers. What we are is we are in the business of helping people. We are in the business of keeping people healthy and fit through proper nutrition and exercise. We help people improve their immune systems so they can live a more productive life. Now, however, we are not the police. We are not the extended arm the state, city, or any local politician to do their bidding, and we are most certainly not in entertainment. And we do not segregate people for any reason, and it is not our job as fitness professionals to turn anyone away. We are in the business of helping anyone who is willing to change their lives. Now, having said that, the city does not have the right to tell us who we can serve for any reason. They don't have the right to tell us who is worthy of it. The decision is up to us as private business owners to be told that 3 industries shall be deemed responsible for enforcing the state's will of getting people vaccinated goes beyond reason. No one can sit here today and tell me that that's okay. This makes no sense. We are an industry that has already been raked through the coals. We've been forgotten about, and yet again, we're going to be made an example of. This mandate is not going to help us. It's not going to increase business, and to say so makes you sound like a fool. Our industry has been through enough, Mayor, and we are here today to tell you, you have no right and you have no authority to dictate to free citizens and business owners who we choose to service. If it is your goal to get everyone vaccinated, I suggest you do it yourself and leave the private sector out of it. The fitness industry will continue to help everyone and anyone who is looking to make a difference in their lives. This is how we help our communities fight back against COVID. And we do that by not forcing people to do what they don't want to do. With that, I'd like to introduce my friend, Joseph Canizzo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Canizzo. I'm the owner of Staten Island Judo and Jiu-Jitsu Dojo. We've been one of the Staten Island's oldest and finest martial arts schools. We're open for almost 60 years. I'm a proud business owner. My business was closed for about 14 months last year. We weren't able to open. Mine and many other business owners, whether they're restaurants, fitness studios, are facing foreclosure, are facing bankruptcy. We haven't been able to feed our families for a year. We were the first to close to keep America safe, and we were one of the last to open in this country. Mayor de Blasio has not made it right. He's not come to our aid. He passes mandates, he wants mandates to go through, but he doesn't keep an eye on the socioeconomic impact of his decisions. Some of you may say, oh, it's a restaurant, it's just a business. It's our life work, our life's work. We wake up every day, and sometimes it's even our generational life's work, money that we've received from family. It's really our passion to serve the community, and he's never made it right. The burden, the societal and financial burden of keeping people safe should not fall on business owners. If the government wants to pass a mandate, they have to be responsible and come to our aid financially, and this is something that's never happened. We've been working for over a year to try to be able to get aid, and there has been nothing for us. I want to thank Congressman Maliotakis and everyone behind me for giving me the opportunity to speak. Just like Charlie, I'm not a politician. I'm just a business owner, a passionate business owner who loves to serve his community. And I can't imagine what my life would be like without my business. And I hope that there isn't going to be a day where I don't have it. I call to Mayor de Blasio to do what's right, and stand behind. If he wants to create mandates, stand behind them financially. This is America. You cannot just mandate everything and just expect the middle class and small business owners to just be at your beck and call as they watch their life and their livelihood slip through their fingers. Thank you guys for your time. I want to introduce Richie Holmes, the owner of Juicy Lucy Restaurant.
Hi guys, I'm also just a regular guy that has a business and has been affected by this terribly. This is my vaccine card, okay? I have no idea in the world how many of these are in Chinatown, how many of these are in other places that they're gonna be making them right now to come to my business to show to me, here's my card. I'm not properly educated to know whether this is accurate, inaccurate, or whatever else it is. Or if they tell me that we're not gonna do it on the card, we're gonna do it on people's cell phones, Last time I checked, the Russians hacked our pipeline. They hack everything every day. They're going to hack that also to be people to say, hey, here's my card right here. It's going to be $45, whatever it's going to be. And they're going to be making money. Guys like me are going to be losing money. I have to tell my 60 employees, of which 80% are vaccinated, the other 20%, you guys can't come and make brisket for me anymore. And my brisket's real good. Okay? So, having said that, what do? I lost 7 figures last year. I was the first restaurant in Staten Island to close because of COVID, just as taking a precautionary measure. I wanted my customers, I wanted my employees, I wanted everyone to be safe. So I did the right thing. At the same time, I wanted to be able to open. Now everybody's saying the governor said 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, hooray, we did it. It's all done now, it's behind us, and now we're back at it all over again, trying to make up ground. This mayor, who has 10 weeks left in his elected time, 12 weeks, whatever it is, wants to go out with a parting shot, not just for the city, he hates this island. Okay, and it is what it is. He lost this island. He knows that by doing this, he's going to hurt us. And he's hurting everybody by doing this, obviously. But at the end of the day, there's no reason for this. It's terrible, and I hope that Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, who did a great job just getting this together, and all the other politicians and attorneys and the other business owners that are here, hopefully they will listen to us and they will assist us to get through this madness and just get back to life. This is America. I'm 50 years old, okay? I've gone through everything: AIDS, SARS, swine, Ebola, everything in the world, all of which probably are the same as this. The Spanish flu 100 years ago killed 500 million people. This hasn't even done any of that. So, and again, I'm not making light of this virus. It's just terrible what had happened. I lost a loved one. It's terrible, but I think this vaccine that we had has done its job. We were told, let's achieve herd immunity. We're going to get out of this thing by July. Here we are, we're in August, now we're going the opposite direction. So I hope that we can get this done properly and efficiently by these gentlemen behind us. And I want to say thank you, and I'm going to bring up here to speak Joe Vitale, ex-Marine and NYPD officer. John Vitale, I apologize, John. Cheers, man.
Hello, my name is John Vitale. I would like to thank Congresswoman Malliotakis for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I have lived in the city for over 28 years. I spent most of my life working as a New York City police officer, cleaning up crime and working to keep these very streets safe so we could all live in peace. I also served in the military and was deployed to Afghanistan to fight for freedom from terrorism. Today I stand before you disgusted with what has become of this great city as a result of this mayor's poor choices. Crime is through the roof. Small businesses have been crushed. What this mayor wants to do is sickening. It sickens me. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I myself have been vaccinated, but it was my personal choice, and for me, my own personal reasons. Mr. Mayor, who are you to try and force your will on us, on the great citizens of New York City? You were elected to represent us. You were not elected to take away our freedoms and ultimately shred the Constitution. What you are doing is wrong. I have worked my entire life to keep New York City safe so my kids and your kids could be happy and free. It crushes me to watch this mayor do this on our great city and its business owners. To the great people in the city of New York, I read a quote from one of our founding fathers. When you abandon freedom to achieve security, you lose both and deserve neither. Thomas Jefferson. Thank you very much for your time, and God bless America.
That wraps up the speakers. We do have some other constituents that have autoimmune issue. If you would like to speak with them directly, they didn't want to speak at the microphone. Any questions before?